What's up, guys? Hawk here. So, I was thinking, do you guys want to know how to make silicone molds? These things right here. So, I've spent the last 15 years making these molds, and while the information is already out there, it's all over the internet. You can find it on Smooth on their YouTube channel, on their website. You can find it on anybody who makes silicone and molding and resin products. But there's seeing a tutorial and then there's actually executing it yourself. In the real world, you might not always have the same application, and I think that it applies to Nerf quite well. These parts can get rather complicated. This is a rather complicated mold. It's not exactly straightforward, and you might be wondering how to do that. So these kind of videos obviously take a lot of effort on my part, especially considering I don't really know how to make these videos yet. I want to do a really guerrilla style video like I'm doing right now, where I just like walk around and hold the camera. I don't really want to be holding it quite like this, but I want to just hold the camera, sit down at my desk, and just kind of like mount it on something, and then you can see what I'm doing. So I haven't really found my video format, and I think the only way I'm going to figure out, there's so many small flies in this place because I accidentally left a drink out here, and there's so many fruit flies in it. I'm still trying to figure out my video style. I don't want to be doing a ton of editing, but my videos are going to be very long because of what I'm doing. So it's going to be kind of a process of figuring out, but I'm making this video just to say, hey, this silicone mold making is a little bit different than just casting something. If you want to cast something, you need the silicone mold, but building this in and of itself is a whole thing. If you have a really simple part like this, you can literally just get away with pouring the silicone over it. It doesn't matter. You're going to get something useful out of it. Whereas you start getting into a little bit more complicated, and you have to kind of think about how things are going to start flowing in there. And then you start getting into this, and if you don't know what you're doing, you're very easily going to mess up a lot of money trying to make something like this if you don't know what you're doing. Then you can also incorporate little things like magnets and stuff like that, and just like the overall how to kind of go about thinking about how to do this. Now, I do it a little bit differently than most people. I was told by Smooth On directly that it was not advisable what I was doing, but it ended up working out anyway. I take 3D printed resin, which is different than casting resin. I take 3D printed resin parts and then mold them, and eventually I will get a platinum cure silicone mold out of it, which is kind of a big deal because if you put platinum cure silicone, which is the better silicone, which is the one you want to be using, if you put it directly on something with a contaminant of sulfur, it will not cure properly. It's called inhibiting the cure. And what that basically means is when you pour the silicone over your part, it's not going to cure properly directly around the part. It's going to get kind of gooey. It's never going to go past that goo stage. So the problem is getting there, but I have developed a way to do that. The only people that I've really seen in any sort of mass make parts from cast or parts from 3D printed, the only group of people I've seen make resin casted parts from resin printed parts are people who make dice, literally like throwing dice. There's pretty much, they're all pretty much the same. One of the faces is completely level to the surface. You just make a cap for it. It's every single mold that I've seen is exactly the same, which means someone has made a video, someone's made a tutorial, someone's made a blog post or something, and everyone in the community who wants to make custom dice is just following that blindly. They don't really know what they're doing. So I want to kind of make something that's a little bit more universal. You can apply it to your own creativity, if you will. Now, I've kind of not done one of these in probably 10 plus years, because the first one I did, I was molding a helmet, and I had a pretty innovative way of doing it. And again, people were only using my method for little tiny things, like literally palm-sized pieces. And I made a whole helmet out of it. And a couple months went by, and someone basically stole the video verbatim. They did it themselves, but they stole the video. I know they stole the video because there was a few things I did in there that were pretty amateur. A few things I did in there that were only done because I had access to certain things at the time, and it wasn't really the right way to do it, but he copied it 1-to-1 for no reason, because he didn't know what he was doing. He was copying my video. Now, that in and of itself didn't really get me too much. I did get upset, but the thing that got me was that he ended up getting like tens of thousands of subscribers based on that video. And I didn't really like that. So I've kind of moved away from tutorials like this, but to be perfectly honest, I'm just kind of wondering if I should just like start making these things for me and just putting it out there and just seeing where they go. Making videos like this is kind of hard because I want to share the knowledge. I want to be open about it. But at the same time, like, is it selfish to say that I want the credit? Because, like, this stuff, I guess, technically isn't original. I'm not claiming originality, but it has not been done before. 3D printed resin, 3D printed parts being turned into this is basically new. There's again, I'm sure someone out there has done it. I'm sure I'm overlooking something. I haven't done extensive research. I'm not claiming to be the first. But it'd be pretty weird if it started blowing up after I made this tutorial. I don't know. I think that's just me being selfish. I think that's just me being greedy. Because I do want to put this out there. But I'd be curious to see if you guys are even interested or even curious, because this stuff does take a little bit of money. This thing is a vacuum chamber. If you're going to be doing it the way I'm doing it, you pretty much need it. There are a few ways around it that I could teach you, but you really kind of want one of these. This particular one was about $220, if I'm remembering correctly. I did get this like 10 or 15 years ago, though. So I think you can actually get one of these from Harbor Freight for like $50. This is going to be a little bit harder to find, and this is going to be even more hard to find. And again, this is kind of one of those things where it's like you could take a pot and just like slap a lid on there and call it a day. That's not something that you want to do, and I'm going to be making that very clear. This is an implosion warning. This pot was made to take 29 inches of mercury indefinitely and 30 inches of mercury for 10 minutes. I believe that is the rating on this thing. And there's little things like if I drop this and dented it, it is no longer usable. Things that are a little bit more serious is this guy. This is a pressure vessel. This is a $1,000 piece of equipment that I got very blessed with purchasing. His name's Victor. That's been on there since the day I got him. The stuff like this is a little bit more, it's a little scarier, because even though I'm only putting 60 PSI in this thing, which you're thinking, oh, that's not too bad. I've done the math on this lid alone. There's like 3,700 pounds of force pressing that way. So those little Harbor Freight ones where they like clamp over and you do, it's like, that is an accident waiting to happen. And I don't want to be responsible for that, to be perfectly honest. But this isn't 100% necessary for casting resin. It's kind of necessary, especially if you want to do transparent parts. You can't really make a part like this without that pressure vessel, and that kind of makes it difficult. There are cheaper pressure vessels out there. If you wanted a decent one that I would recommend, a small one, like I just saw like a really, really small, like 2.5 gallon one, I think it was. It was like $100. So, the tooling entry fee is going to be like $200, maybe. If you really wanted to get away with just the bare minimum, I'm sure you could do it for just the cost of materials. The next thing I would probably get is the pressure vessel. The next thing I would get is definitely the vacuum chamber. To do it properly with the cheapest pressure vessel, the cheapest vacuum chamber is probably going to be like $500. I know that's like really steep, but I mean, this part is like $1 in resin. And when you put it like that, it sounds kind of ridiculous. But to get here is a long, arduous process. And these silicone molds need to be made and made over and over again. And not only the skill to do that, but also the forethought into making this. And the actual material cost of that silicone itself is not free. It has to be accounted into this. The material cost itself of just this part is $1. But it's more like 18. I've done the math. It's more like 18-ish dollars to get a part like this. Like if I was just going to do the math to just like sell this with like no overhead, which would be ridiculous. Like $18. So it's not like horrible. That's for the full set, not just this. I'm just being transparent, to be perfectly honest. I'm making about $40, or no, less than that, like $35, because I did underestimate the shipping. Oh, it's more like $30 because I do have to pay Shopify, whatever. I do have to pay them. So it's more like I'm making like $30 on these or something like that. So like 100% overhead. That's not great. But I mean, it is what it is. And the problem is everyone's like, why are you making Strife parts in 2024? It's what I wanted to make. It's what I want to do. And I understand that other people want other things, but to be perfectly honest, from a business standpoint, there is no money in Nerf. And congratulations to Out of Darts and anyone else who can get into the game. But when I can sell this part for $20 in Nerf, if I was going to make this for the oil and gas industry, this is a $300 part. You can say whatever you want. If like the Dr. Snickers cage, he could barely sell those things for $100. In aerospace, that is a $500 part. That's a $300 part at the very least. So it's kind of hard to justify my time when there's so much more lucrative things than Nerf. Even I feel like even airsoft would be more profitable. There's just not a lot of money in it. And to be perfectly honest, I don't want a job on top of my job. I do want to start a business, but I'm slowly realizing that what I actually want is to just do what I want to do and be happy in the journey and not necessarily the destination. So I'm still trying to learn on what I want. For now, just honestly, I'm working on this thing, which is why these parts exist. Which, by the way, I like these parts more than I thought I did. So they might actually go in here. Something like this project really speaks to me. This particular project is really important to me. And it's important because I'm not only making this blaster, but I feel like this blaster is kind of telling me what it wants. This is closer to the original color that I had in mind. When I first sketched out, I literally took a picture like this, and then on my phone with my finger, I sketched out a design, and it was closer to this color than what I was going to do, which is closer to an aqua, not that color, closer to an aqua, a bright sea color. And I was going to do that because the LEDs I want to use are super bright, light blue, ice blue LEDs. And so I started leaning more towards that. As a whim, I did this, and I put them on, and it kind of was like, oh man, I kind of want that. And so despite my plans, this blaster kind of took me into the direction that it wanted to go. And I think I'm actually going to go with these parts. So it's little things like that that I really enjoy about builds like this. There's not a lot of them. To be perfectly honest, I think it's inside, but Pocket Javelin, the fully aluminum one that I made, the fully aluminum caliber and style, even that blaster didn't really speak to me the way this blaster did, the way Ethereal Fortress did, the way this one did. And they kind of spoke to me. They influenced their own build. They influenced their own process as much as I influenced making them, I feel like. It's all very much learning processes. And I think it's important to make something by hand like that. I could be crazy. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. I want to go through the shop guerrilla style like this. I'm still trying to figure out how I want to film videos, how I want to make videos. I kind of want to put some soundproofing stuff on that because I feel weird talking to myself at night, especially because I know it's quiet as heck out there. And you can actually see perfectly in here at night when these lights are on, because that's tinted really, really heavily. But with these lights on, it's pretty much like it's not tinted at all. During the day, you can't see in with the lights on, but at nighttime, you sure can. And I feel like most of my stuff is going to be at night. So I definitely want to get, at the very least, something to cover these things, even if it's temporary, because I don't feel comfortable right now being out here. It's a little bit cooler right now, which I'm lucky, but it's going to be getting summer soon. So the next thing I really want to do is invest in a mini split unit. That's going to be about $2,000. There's some installation I still need to do. There's the install of it itself, which I haven't even looked into. There's some mini splits where you can do the install yourself. You don't have to get someone to charge the lines. But to be perfectly honest, you're sacrificing quality of the unit itself because they can get away with not making a good unit because there's only like 2 companies that do the self-install. So I'm kind of leaning away from that. Do it right the first time kind of thing. But there's also like the money factor. And so I want to get a good one in here, mainly because I'm in Texas. Luckily, the sun is not here. This is north. So the sun actually is mostly in the backyard, which I'm very fortunate for. So it's not super hot in here, even when it does get hot. But I still have, it's leaking like a sieve, which I do need to get weather stripping for, which is going to be another $100. I still haven't insulated the ceiling at all. Luckily, the surrounding area I did insulate before the building went up completely. So all of the insulation, I do want to get an oversized mini split. I calculated, I think, for like between 15 and 18,000 BTUs for like a normal scenario here. Like the 18,000 BTUs, I think was like, it's leaking like a sieve. It's in the kitchen. It's basically as worse as it can get on the calculator that I used. But I would still kind of like to go more than that, like 20,000, even 24,000 BTUs, just because, again, it registered. I put that I was in Houston, Texas, and like I'm sure they have all of that. But if I feel like if I got a 24,000 BTU one, I just wouldn't be worrying about it at all. Not to mention if I open and close the door, it's going to cool down faster. So there's a lot I want to do. There's a lot of things I wish I did, like leveling this floor, because honestly, this chair rocking back and forth kind of drives me nuts, and it's like the most uneven right where I'm sitting. So that's kind of unfortunate, but I'm gonna have to deal with it. I do need a better chair. That's $150. I need to build this freaking table right here because it's driving me nuts that I only have this one. This is gonna go here temporarily, I think. I can flip this camera around. This is going to go here temporarily, and then eventually I want to put that table up against this wall and put some power tools on it, like these guys over here. And then I want to turn this one into a wooden top one, maybe some melamine or something to put on top of here. And then possibly I just had the thought of taking my surface plate, which is a 2 foot by 3 foot surface plate, and kind of taking that guy and putting it directly right here on the end here. I also want to put a vise right here. I was looking at one of those gun vices where you can like lock and unlock the whole thing and pivot it. And then maybe a little bit of more solid one where I can bang something on right here. Again, this all takes money, and I could literally sit here and talk for hours about what I want to do. And it's all reasonable. I've calculated it down to reasonable things. It's not unreasonable to want these things in my shop. But for how much money I need to do it, I mean, all of the things I just listed are probably a couple grand. I mean, to get the mini split out here, I think I actually need to run a new line, which I wanted to do anyway. A 220, 240 volt line over here. I wanted to do a 50 amp one that needs like, I think 6 gauge wire. It's 6 gauge wire. That wire is going to be about $150 at the cheapest, I think. And like I'm going to run the line, and then I'm going to hire an electrician to basically plug it in, because I don't trust myself to do that. Also, don't really know how. So my plan is to get the wire, the box, and everything else is probably going to be another $50 to $100. So $250, $300 in. Put it somewhere. I actually don't know where. I thought about the ceiling. I would like it right there, but that's going to be the hardest spot to put it in because my roof is right there. So the easiest spots would be somewhere right here, or even the ceiling, like right here or something. Not 100% sure on that. Maybe like literally like right here. But again, I have plans for all this space, so that kind of makes it difficult. I would really like it right here. I think I want to really try for right here. Or the ceiling. Honestly, ceiling, not mad about it. But to run that line all the way back over across my house, couldn't be further from where I need to be. And then just basically put the line up there. I don't even know how to get it into the box. And then just quote say, hey, how much is it going to be to pull that line through and plug it into the box? And that's probably going to be like $500, to be perfectly honest. Because as crazy as it sounds, they wanted $800 to install this garage door. $800. I got this garage door for a steal. And they wanted $800 to put it in. $800. Can you believe that? So I'm thinking it's going to be like $500 to just, that makes it like what, $800 just to get power over here. And that's going to operate things like potentially a table saw, my AC unit, which actually shouldn't be more than like 20 amps. So it shouldn't blow a breaker, even if it's running a power tool, and that at the same time if it's 50 amps. But again, this is just like, oh God, that's, what is that? Like $3,000, almost $3,000 just to get some AC in here and some power. That's another $1,000 in tools that I just talked about, and then probably another $1,000 in furniture and everything else that I want to do. So we're up to $5,000, and I don't even have a table saw. which I want to saw stop, but they're actually coming out with they might be coming out with some laws that might make things a little bit cheaper, or at least more widely available, because I am not getting anything but a saw stop. It's not about quality, it's about not cutting off my fingers, and no matter how safe you think you are, doesn't matter. I'm not doing it. It's not worth my fingers. It's not worth gambling them. You can talk about it all day. Anyway, my point is, it'd be really nice if I could film this stuff. It'd be really nice if I could just do my thing, make videos, have a day job, edit my videos, make the things I want to make, put it out there, maybe have like, I don't know, a Patreon, maybe have like a live stream where I can get donations or something to fund this space. I'm going to be perfectly honest. That is my goal. That is what I would like to do. I would like this, at the very least, to sustain itself. I don't want to be making things for people. I don't want to be doing things for people. I want to be making the things that I want to make and then putting them out there. And if somebody wants to buy it, that's great. Unfortunately, it's not a great business model. So, I don't know. I got nothing. I'm honestly being a completely open book here. I mean, I just told you how much I'm making off those parts. And to be perfectly honest, I don't plan on selling a ton of them. I don't think they're going to sell well. I did make I just deposited a little over $500 into my bank. So I really appreciate that, all those funds. I do want to take this time to thank someone in the community. He goes by Neo. I don't know if that's what he goes by now, but I'm going to link, at the very least. Oh, I can post a picture here. I forgot I can do that. I'm going to post his information right here. He actually completely 100% solely funded these drive parts. He contacted me and said, "Hey, I'd like to make a donation." And I was like, "Oh, cool." He was like, "How much do you need?" And I was like, "Well, the project's $800. And he donated $800. Actually, a little bit more than that, I think. So without him, I wouldn't have accomplished this, like, at all. And to be perfectly honest, it almost brings me to tears even thinking about it. Because I'm doing a little bit better now, but I wasn't exactly in a great place at the time. And I'm incredibly grateful for that. So, personally, thank you, Neo. I've known him for quite a while, pretty much since I've been in Nerf, and I consider him a dear friend. So let's move on from the sappy subjects. But yeah, this is my goal. I want to sit here and make things and talk to people. And I'm okay. I need to be okay with having a day job to support myself in the meantime, or even permanently. To be perfectly honest, I need to act like this is never going to take off. I need to just do it because I want to do it. I want to enjoy the journey, not the destination. Because if I'm trying to enjoy the destination, I'm never going to get there. I'm always going to be upset. I'm always going to be unhappy. So this is what makes me happy. And it might not make the most money, but it's right now, this is what I want to do. I just want to make something. So I don't know. I still feel like I'm trying to figure out how to make these videos. I'm still trying to figure out subjects and having cohesive structures. I've written nothing down. I'm literally just rambling for 29 minutes. That's going to be a fun edit. And so I need to learn how to stop doing that. A little bit more structured at the very least. I would like to get some sort of button where I click it and it automatically literally logs what the timestamp is, so that I can go through and edit things more easily. Because 29 minutes of me rambling is one thing, but when this is mounted up here and I'm working on this in silence for 3 hours and I say something half meaningful at the 2 hour and 15 minute mark, that's going to be a pain in the ass. And I would really like a better way to log that. So if you guys have any ideas, let me know. I'd like to bring out my whole computer out here, to be perfectly honest, but I'm definitely not doing that until I get my AC up and running in here. I'm going to stop talking. Let me know about that silicone mold stuff if you guys want to see that. If you guys want to see anything else, I'll try to be as open book as possible. Let me know what you guys think about this style video. If you watched the entire thing, let me know. Actually, if you skipped around, let me know that too. If you just skipped to the end and you're seeing this end part, seriously, let me know. I'm going to try to do better. But I think I need to be okay with not being the best. I need to be okay with this video. And you know what? I think I am going to be okay with this video. Thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one.